got that, and I thought, well, he must be out riding dodging. So,
yeah.
Anyway, I was having a little hard time reading that, even with my reading glasses. It's pretty small stuff coming in on the text, but
usually I have to look at it through the gallery so I can zoom in whenever people send me, pictures and whatnot.
Yeah.
In the message format, it's always too small to see anything other than pictures.
Yeah. And that's what I was trying to do. So, Andy and I had a conversation yesterday about the fact that we needed that I didn't have any problem with the way he was saying to weld this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That my problem was that we needed to have the way he was saying to weld it needed to be on the welding procedure, and it needed to have been tested.
Yes, exactly.
And so, and that's kind of what I put in the email to, hold on a second, let me pull up the email I sent to the other guy, the guy that did the testing.
Scott Harvey?
Scott Harvey, yeah.
Like Paul Harvey.
So what I said was, Scott, thanks for these, because he had, updated that, the size and all that stuff. I said I need these completed with the following information: sketches of the procedures in the joint details box, and then details on the test results on all PQRs, not just the fact that the test results were acceptable, which is what you and I talked about before.
Yes. And
then I made a request. I said, do you have a procedure for the sleeve fillet weld that uses 7018 for both the root bead and the subsequent passes, which essentially is what Andy's talking about.
Yes.
And that was yesterday at 11, and I don't have an answer back from him. So, I think it's it's just time. So
yes.
Anyway, so that's I've got a phone number for him. I may just give him a call and talk to him about it.
That would be good. We are going to be transporting the equipment to Site 7 in the morning. The tractor trailer will...
Then I need to get the,
yes.
the site-specific thing written for that. I will do that as soon as I get a phone with you. Put it in the email.
So from with you being our engineer and you talking to Scott Harvey, the CW guy that done those procedures, is our procedure good to go now? Are we legally able to weld as it stands?
Well, the problem with what we have now is the written procedure that we have now has 60-10 for the root bead.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And that is a problem, I think, mostly because of the fact that you're not really, it's not the right application for 60-10, I guess. And so I don't know that what we have right now is what we need for the work we're doing.
Right.
So, it's close. It's down to within, just needing a different rod for that root pass, but it's not there. And so let me get a hold of Scott and see if we can figure this out, because I am a little concerned that we're going to have to weld on this next job.
Yes.
In fact, I think we may be welding on the next 4 jobs. With that change in the schedule, 8, 10, and 11 are all dense, and I'm assuming we're going to be welding on all those.
Yes. I was trying not to blow your phone up, but I knew that we were running out of time.
Yeah, no, I agree. But the one that you're coming to is a 44% wall thickness corrosion cell. And it's not going to surprise me if that thing gets down to the point where I'm going to say we need to repair it. Part of that is that, it's one of these things where, since they've sort of anointed me as their integrity person over at Black Bear, I'm pretty damn conservative on stuff like this. And so but the other thing that's happened this week is that the PHMSA published their FAQs for the mega rule. And one of the big, are you familiar with any of those terms?
No, sir.
The mega rule, PHMSA, after the San Bruno incident 10 years ago, PHMSA started a process a notice of proposed regulations process that has resulted in something that is so big of a change to the pipeline stuff in the country that they've been calling it the mega rule. And rather than, it's so big that rather than implement it all at one time, they've split it into three parts. The first part became a rule in June, was promptly set aside because of some objections that a bunch of people had, and what's happened now is that it's gone into being it's gone into effect, but it hasn't gone into effect until they get through sort of another mini comment period. And part of that was this them responding to questions from a whole bunch of people and putting up an FAQ list. The FAQ list was 56 pages long.
Oh, dang.
Oh, yeah. People had lots of questions about it. Well, I said it's a sea change in some ways, in the way not the way we build pipelines, that really hasn't changed much, but the way we keep records and the way we look at existing pipelines. And one of the big ones is MAOP. They're part of the mega rule, probably the most impactful piece of the mega rule. Well, so far, the first part that's been published is an MAOP verification process that you have to go through now. It's 192.624 in the code, and basically what it says is if you don't have traceable and verifiable, and those are both defined terms, records of how your MAOP was determined on a pipeline, then you have a series of options for what you can do. One of them is to reduce the pressure to 20% less than you've been operating it at and call that the MAOP. A lot of people don't want to do that because that's a reduction in capacity and money and everything else. But the one that most folks look like they're probably going to end up doing is coming back and rehydrostat testing the pipeline. Okay. Now, bear in mind, this is not going to apply to probably 90% of the pipelines because probably 90% of them have good records. Right. That they can go back. Somebody can go back and pull a chart out on, and say, okay, here's the pressure chart when we did or here's the record of the deadweight test when we did the pressure test on this pipeline. But for about 10% of the pipelines in the country, it's going to mean probably having to rehydrostat test them. I don't know at this point if Black Bear's pipelines fall into the category of having good records or not having good records, because they just bought the damn thing from Enbridge and nobody really knows what records they've got. And so until I've got time, or Rhonda has time to go through their records and make sure we've got good data, we are going to err on the side of caution. And that means that anytime we have Josh's stuff come back with, anything under 150% of current MAOP as a burst pressure, we're going to fix it.
Right.
We're going to patch it, because the other thing that came out in the mega rule was the new hydrostat test standard is actually tougher than the original hydrotest standard. The original hydrotest standard in PHMSA for building a brand new pipeline in a class 1 area, which is what most of these are, is that you, actually class 2, is that you test it to 1.25 times MAOP. They've since added, as part of this mega rule, they've added a requirement for what they're calling a spike test. So you bring it up to 1.25, and you know, say you're going to do 24-hour tests, like you've probably seen the guys do those on pipelines. You do a 24-hour test, but somewhere in that 24 hours, preferably close to the beginning of the 24 hours, you spike the pressure up to 150% of MAOP for an hour. It's sort of a strength test. Mm-hmm. Okay. The other one is more of a leak test. This is a strength test, and they're going to require that on new pipelines, and they're also going to require it on any that are hydrostat tested to reestablish the MAOPs. For that reason, we're not going to leave anything out there that wouldn't survive 150% spike test.
Right.
Anyway, so that's kind of where we're at on that. And so we have it at this point. That's not, we hadn't until this week realized that that's the guideline we ought to be following. But with the stuff that we've seen so far, we have followed those guidelines. We've been at 180% burst pressure's been at 180% or higher of MAOP on all of them so far. Right. So we're in good shape so far. But when you get to that next one, when you get to 7, mm-hmm. I have an idea where it's going to come in at about 140%, maybe even lower. It would still, and the crazy part about that is, it would, if this was pre-mega rule, we'd have probably sandblasted and recoated. It's not. It's post-mega rule. And so we're probably going to fix it.
Right.
If it comes back at 160%, then we'll probably just sandblast and recoat. Because once you sandblast and recoat, you're going to stop those corrosion cells. I mean, they're happening because of those damn shrink sleeves.
Yes, that's yeah.
And so anyway, that's where we're at. So we are going to be doing welding. Back to kind of your issue, we're going to be doing welding. I think on at least 3 of the next 4, and maybe 4 of the next 4.
Okay.
I don't honestly think we're going to be doing any more welding the rest of the project, except maybe 16, which is a 35% of pipe wall corrosion cell. So we may not be doing a whole lot more welding after this, but because some of the rest of these, we got one that's 13% of pipe wall, which I don't think we'd even be doing, except that it's 90 yards from, it's the one that's like in the middle of those 3 that are all close together.
Right, yeah.
So it's kind of like, okay, we're here, dig it up, anyway.
Yeah, you've already done 80% of the hard work.
Huh?
Yeah, at that point, you've done 80% of the work.
Yeah, you already got there. I mean, you don't have to load, you don't even have to load the track up. You just drive it down the right away and start digging again.
Yes.
Anyway, so that's where we're at. I'm going to do everything I can to get Scott to come back with a welding procedure that has the 7018 as the rod for the whole process.
That would be amazing.
Now and then.
Yeah.
And has the sketches and has the details on the test.
That would be absolutely amazing. My concern is the PQR as it stands is not valid. That's why I was really trying to get this.
I'm not sure. It would be more valid if it had the drawing. Okay.
Yes. So
I don't know that we need the details. And as I read through the stuff that you sent me and went back and looked at it in the code, I don't know that we need the details on the PQR as long as we know that the guy who did the testing has the details. I think we're okay.
So
but I do think we need the drawing up in the box.
Yeah, that's a big deal. My concern, so the drawing is a big deal, especially for me in the field, for the weld procedure. My concern with the PQR is the welders did not destructively test anything. And the PQR says that the welders set the procedure. Now, whether that's a data entry error on Scott's part, I don't know. Yes, sir.
Hey, Mike, can I call you right back?
Yes, sir.
I got a call coming from Twin Falls, Idaho, and I got a big project going out there.
Okay, so, I'll be waiting. All right, thank you.